We can go.
Hi, Danny here with another interview for Pippin's Players in the Wild series. And today I'm at the Baker Dance School in Glenville, New York. It's on Glen Ridge Road, and I'm here to speak with Denise Baker. But I first want to say a little bit about the Baker School of Dance, which is known for its non-competitive, friendly environment, at the same time as it has professional standards. And so that's a really nice feature of it. And it was established in 1935 by Denise's mother, Irma Baker, who danced until she was 98 and a half. And that's also until the end of her life.
Yes.
That was amazing. Irma Baker was also past president of the Dance Masters of America. And her granddaughter, Irma's granddaughter, Kyle, is the current owner of the Baker School of Dance. The studio is celebrating its 90th year with an upcoming show, The Time Capsule.
Yes.
May 4th at the Scotia Glenville High School. And I just want to note too that the school provides scholarships for those with financial need and takes volunteer shows to assisted living homes,
Yes.
hospitals, living centers, just to share the joy of the arts. Right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do.
So then I wanted to just say a little bit about Denise here, who has choreographed many musicals for local high schools. For example, Mary Poppins at Voorheesville.
Yes.
And she's won high school musical awards for best choreography. She has been cited by Senator Chuck Schumer.
That's
right?
actually my mom.
Oh, your mom has been cited
Yes.
okay, for contributions to the art.
That's okay. You can get me mixed up with
That's
her.
okay. And she still teaches here, point and adult tap. But she's also done many, many, many SLOC productions, choreographed many, including Hello Dolly, My Fair Lady, and Oklahoma, where we met in 1982. So I know that you have so many stories to tell about SLOC and your wonderful years of experience there. And so wanted to invite you to share a little bit of that here today.
Thank you, Danny. And I was also going to say it was a treasure to meet you again after all the years, having originally danced with you in Oklahoma. And what a wonderful experience that was. And also I want to thank Julian for doing the videoing of this. Very nice person to have met. And I just would like to say that Schenectady Light Opera Company gave me a lot. It's kind of a highlight in my life. In the 1980s and in the 1990s, I was doing shows for SLOC up at the house up on Upper State Street in the fall. Mm-hmm. And then in the spring, the shows would be at Proctor's.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And what an opportunity. It was just wonderful. And it was great for me because I was a single parent with a 3-year-old when it started, and she grew up in these musicals. I brought her to the rehearsals, and she learned the songs, the moves, the acting. And, so she was able to come in as a 3rd generation and take over our dancing studio. And I am extremely proud of my daughter. Lovely, lovely woman, Kyle.
Yep.
And there's just so many things about Light Opera Company. They, I mentioned earlier to you, Danny and Julian, that they did things like they had a fundraiser for breast cancer, and we were part of that show. Just numerous things that were important to me, and I'm going to tell 2 stories.
Okay.
If you have time for it.
Right.
And because, my first one is about when I choreographed Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. And I have a few props to assist in the telling of this. My prop here is me as a youngster with Tommy Walsh, who was my dance partner growing up, and he studied with my mother, Irma Baker. Tommy Walsh went on to be in the original cast of Chorus Line, and then he was a 2-time Tony Award winner. I'm working on my one and only with Tommy Tune.
Yes.
So when I was doing the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, I called him up because he would come up and visit me quite often, and told him what I was doing. He said, I'd love to come up. And so he came up and he put on a dance workshop in the basement of the Light Opera Company, the downstairs. I remember it well. Hard linoleum floor. And so everyone had a chance, to work with him. But probably the most fun part of that was that he gave me some steps that he had done with Anne Margaret in his choreographing of Best Little Whorehouse. So that's my one story, and it tied in so beautifully.
Keeps those, right?
Yeah, so it's very special. And the other one just goes back to my childhood, which my sister and I have a big age gap between us. So when I was 10, she was living in Manhattan and was on Broadway in Hello, Dolly. And she was in the original cast of Hello, Dolly through actually all the Dollys from Carol Channing, Phyllis Diller, Pearl Bailey. And I would visit her summers and I would go and sit backstage. And I got to know everybody in the cast of Hello, Dolly. And it was just such an experience. Right down to the doorman Wilbur. And they would let me press the button to bring the train on the stage and things like that. And when I was young, at that age, they gave me a signed album of Hello Dolly with all their autographs.
Look at that.
So I have Carol Channing, David Hartman, Charles Nelson Riley, Eileen Brennan.
Unbelievable.
And my sister's husband was a dancer-singer in it, was the one who jumped over the orchestra pit when Dolly comes down the big steps at the end,
What a keepsake. That's
So
incredible.
probably one of my dreams was to someday choreograph that myself. And I was asked by Light Opera Company to choreograph it for the spring show at Proctor's, which is an incredible stage to work on. And by that time, I'd had several people, especially some men who'd worked with me in other shows. So I really had a nice group of dancers. And it was wonderful because my sister came to the show and she said it was up to par with the Broadway one.
Oh my gosh, that's great. And
and when we did shows, when I choreographed shows for Light Opera, the production staff were giving these pewter mugs, and I have them for the different shows I've done. I probably have about 10 of them, and they did it up to a certain point. So this was from my Hello, Dolly, which was in 1984, and
that's right. I was going to say it was a couple years after Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
And the huge 5-foot poster of that
Yes.
is in the downstairs of the large Slock Education building.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yep.
They even made a postcard out for Schenectady out of the billboard for Proctor's, and it was up. I had the postcard for years, so it was quite the experience. And just the ending to that is kind of a nice tagline. Is when Carol Channing came on tour with Hello, Dolly, it was her final tour. Not all that many years ago, but quite a few. It was at Proctor's, and I called up her business manager, and I said, I'd like to send some flowers to her. And they said to me, they go, well, let me get back to you. And then they called and said, why don't you stay in the audience afterwards and we'll come get you. So I sat there not knowing what was going to happen.
Sure.
And they led me back on stage, and she was right there on stage alone and talked to me. And my sister's name is Beverly Baker. And they said, oh, Beverly's little sister. And it was just a real treat. And I could go on, but I have to thank Schenectady Light Opera Company for the many opportunities I had and the wonderful people I worked with. The talent in our communities, it brings it out. They're wonderful musical directors, the directors themselves, the production staff, the people who work on stage managers, makeup. It is, it's such a wonderful opportunity, and I've always appreciated that part of my life.
Thanks. It's a huge commitment, and thank you for all your work there.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So we're here to also talk a little bit about the Pippin mystery, right? You noticed that nobody was named as Pippin when the cast was announced. So we have to ask, who do you think our Pippin is? Out of those cast members that you saw in the little video.
From looking at a little video and not really knowing anyone in the cast but you, my guess is Reagan. And I just felt she had lovely energy, and it jumped right out at me in the video. And knowing the past of Pippin, there, was a wonderful female, and I'm sorry, I can't really think of her name right now, but so that is my guess for Pippin.
Okay, reveal coming soon. Not here though.
Okay.
Thanks. And what is a piece of advice you have for fellow performers and dreamers?
This was hard. I wanted to narrow it down, and I have two pieces of advice. And the first one is I believe that for me, what helped me was exploring the world through books and travel, and being inspired and allowing my creativity to have a worldview. I felt that was important. And the other thing that I truly believe in that you touched upon is giving back. We have a gift, we have something that's special within us that to me it's important to share. And as you said, you can do it. We've gone into assisted living homes, nursing homes. We've taken joy into their lives. And I thought about it, and performers really know how to smile. So in your day, you can always give a nice performing smile that's heartfelt to another person.
Yes, performance, it's love.
So,
And so what is your corner of the sky? That one thing that keeps you going is so special to you.
I love this question, and I love that my daughter clarified
it. To
it.
help to think about, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to think about it a little bit. And for me, it's water in nature. And it's kind of poetic, but I feel like when I'm at a place, whether it's a sea or a lake, I hear music in the water. At night, I think the stars are like dancing. And to me, there's such beauty in it. And the most important part of that is doing it and sharing it with my family and friends. And as my youngest grandson, I have two, Maxwell, has said to me, in his 8-year-old wisdom, he said, "I do believe love makes the world go around." And I believe that too.
Thanks.